Hi everyone. I welcome all of you on Gate Chemical Planet. I would like to thank all the students who subscribed my channel. So student, please join me on Telegram also. As you all know that the syllabus of GATE 2021 has been changed, and in many subjects some new topic has been incorporated. So the newly updated topic in mass transfer is membrane separation processes. So there is a big news, big update. I am going to launch a new series which is based on discussion related to the newly added topic in each subject. So first we will discuss membrane separation process, and then we will come on another topics of another subjects. So here membrane separation processes we will discuss in two parts. In part 1 we will discuss the basic introduction of membrane separation, the classification of separation processes, and the material, membrane material, and the properties of membrane, and then we will come on the membrane characterization, and finally we will discuss the membrane modules and the types of module. In part 2 we will discuss the ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis and microfiltration in more details with the help of a tutorial. Okay, so here without wasting time, start the lecture. So now start the membrane separation. Membrane separation has the most important and practically useful modern separation technique in chemical process industries. It has attained considerable maturity to successfully compete with some of the traditional separation processes. So, what is membrane separation? A membrane is a thin barrier which is placed between two phases or two mediums, which allows one or more constituents to selectively pass from one medium to the other in the presence of an appropriate driving force while retaining the rest. So, what is membrane? Membrane is a thin discrete barrier which is placed between the two phases to allow the separation, and separation is done under some appropriate driving force. So how membrane separation take place? Please see this diagram here. Feed enters into one of the compartment of the membrane and then flows over the membrane. Here one or more of the component in the feed diffuses or pass through the membrane and collected from the other compartment of the cell as a permeate. This is a permeate. Okay, and the stream leaving the feed compartment of the cell is called the retentate. Okay, so this is the retentate which retain on the membrane. So in this way the membrane separation processes occurs. Okay, so I think it is clear to all the students. Now what is driving force in the membrane separation? The driving force in the membrane separation processes are pressure gradient, temperature gradient, electric current and gravity differences, or we can say the activity. The factors which determines the effectivity of membranes are two. First is the selectivity and second is the productivity. Selectivity is expressed as a parameter called retention or separation factor, and productivity is expressed as a parameter called flux, and both are membrane dependent. So selectivity and productivity are the two factors determining the effectivity of the membrane. So now move on the major advantages of membrane processes. what are the major advantages a membrane is doing? So it is inherently simple in design and compact and easy to scale up. And the second thing which is very advantageous in case of membrane is the membrane module design. The module design of the membrane device. A number of modules may be used in parallel if the feed rate is large. So this is the advantage of membrane. Moderate operating temperature suitable for high value heat sensitive substances. Okay, so for heat sensitive substances, membrane is a good option. Membrane is fully automated and with no moving parts. It is very good advantage with membrane. They don't require energy intensive phase changes or expensive adsorbent and difficult to handle solvents. So as there is no need of solvent, adsorbent, and this is does not require any energy, so it is very advantageous in terms of energy requirement. So now we will come on the major membrane separation processes. So the major processes are microfiltration, ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis, dialysis, pervaporation, and gas separation. Okay. In case of microfiltration, the separation mechanism is sieving and the driving force is the pressure difference delta P, which is less than 2 bar. In case of ultrafiltration, the separation mechanism is also sieving and the feed is liquid and the driving force is the pressure differences delta P. For this case is equal to 2 to 3.5 bar. And in case of reverse osmosis, the separation mechanism is solution diffusion and the feed are salt solutions and seawater. And the driving force is again pressure difference delta P, which is equals to 10 to 100 bar or more. And in case of gas separation, the separation mechanism is sorption diffusion and feed is gas mixture and driving force is the difference of fugacity or pressure differences. So students, it is my suggestion, please remember all these values, learn all these values in case of microfiltration, ultrafiltration, because some of the multiple select questions or multiple choice questions may comes from this portion. Okay, so learn all these values. So here the application of each process is also given. You can see the application of each process and the permeated species also. So now move on the pore diameter relationship. Here the pore diameter relationships for nanofiltration, reverse osmosis, ultrafiltration, microfiltration, and for conventional filters are given. Okay, so you can read out the values from here, 0.1 nanometer to 1 nanometer. Okay, so 1 nanometer to 10 nanometer, and then 10 to 100 nanometer pore diameter, and 10 nanometer to 1 micrometer, and 1 to 10 micrometer, and then 10 to 100 micrometer. So this is the pore diameter range for different processes. Okay, it is very helpful for your exam, so I added here for all of you. Okay, so now we will come on the membrane material. Most of the membrane in practical use are made of polymers. Okay, and what are those polymers? The polymers are polyisoprene, which is a rubbery type polymer, aromatic polyamides, polycarbonates, polyimides, polystyrene, polysulfone, and Teflon. So these are the, or cellulose triacetate or cellulose acetate. So these are the polymeric materials. They are widely used in the making of membrane. So now we will come on classification of membrane. On the basis of polymeric material, inorganic material and liquid material, the membrane are classified in three categories. Membrane are classified as polymeric membranes, inorganic membranes and liquid membranes. Okay, so three categories of membrane. Polymeric membrane are further divided into dense membrane or porous membrane. Dense membrane are of three types. First is the isotropic membrane, second is the asymmetric membrane, and third is the composite membrane. Porous membranes are divided in two categories, the asymmetric membranes and microporous membrane. So these are the polymeric membrane. Second category of membrane is the inorganic membranes. Inorganic membranes are of two types. First is the ceramic membrane and second is the metallic membrane. And then liquid membranes. Liquid membranes are further of two categories. We will discuss in later on slides. Okay. So this is very good classification of membrane, and this chart is very much helpful for all of you for your exam preparation. We will discuss dense membrane in more details and microporous membrane in detail and ceramic and metallic membrane in more details in later on topics. Okay, so now move on the attributes of good membrane material. What are the properties of a membrane material should contain? So here the high selectivity, good permeability. A membrane should have very good permeability and very good selectivity, or high membrane should be highly selective. Good chemical stability and compatibility. Resistance to fouling and adsorption. Suitability for fabrication of module. So membrane should be suitable for fabrication of module. We will discuss module in later on slides. Amenability to casting of a thin film. So these are the some attributes or the properties of good membrane material you should know. So now we will come on dense membrane. We will discuss dense membrane in more details. So dense membranes are also called non-porous membranes. Dense membranes are the membranes having no pores and made up of suitable material which allows selective passage of one or more component of a mixture. The permeating component dissolves at the surface of the membrane and diffuses through the intermolecular spaces or free volume within the membrane material and finally leave at opposite surface as a permeate. So this is the functioning of dense membrane. Dense membranes are used for reverse osmosis, gas separation processes and for pervaporation processes. So it is very important for your exam purpose. The symmetric dense polymeric film may be prepared by solution casting or melt casting. So it is again the important one. In a exam it may be asked that what is the preparation method of dense membrane. So symmetric dense polymeric film may be prepared by two techniques, by solution casting or by melt processing. So remember these two techniques for the preparation of dense membrane. Now we will come on microporous membranes. Symmetric microporous membranes are similar to filter. It is similar to conventional filter, but the difference is in pore size and thickness. So there is a difference between filters and microporous membrane in pore size and thickness. These have interconnected pores. So microporous membranes have interconnected pores and highly porous. So these are very highly porous membrane and having the high porosity and used for microfiltration. So now what are the techniques of preparation of microporous membranes? There are three techniques of preparation of microporous membrane. First is the solution precipitation technique. Second is the track etching technique, and third is the film stretching techniques. Okay, so I am not going to discuss these techniques in more details. If you guys are interested, then I will make a separate video on these techniques. Okay, so now we will come on inorganic ceramic membrane. Inorganic membranes, in a simple common language, also known as ceramic membranes. Inorganic membranes are of two types, the metallic membrane and the ceramic membrane. The example of metallic membrane is palladium membrane. It can separate hydrogen from a gas mixture, and it is highly soluble and permeable for hydrogen. So in the separation of hydrogen from a gas mixture, palladium membranes are used, and palladium membranes are the metallic membranes. And second category is the ceramic membrane. Ceramic membranes are very expensive. They are prepared by sol gel technique. Remember this technique for the preparation of ceramic membrane. It is a sol gel technique. It is made from aluminium, titanium or silica oxides, being chemically inert and stable at high temperature. So that's why the ceramic membranes are used for the production and processing of syngas. Okay, so where ceramic membranes are used? Ceramic membranes are used for the production and processing of syngas. Now we will come on liquid membranes. Liquid membranes are of two types. Liquid membranes are of two types. Immobilized liquid membrane, which is known as ILM, and emulsion liquid membranes known as ELM. There is a very good point to note down in case of liquid membranes. Liquid films lack mechanical strength. So proper techniques has to be adopted to stabilize these membranes to avoid any rupture. So as the liquid film lack the mechanical strength, so we have to take care about the proper techniques we have to adopted to stabilize this type of membrane to avoid any type of rupture. Okay, so this is the inorganic membrane. Now we will discuss on membrane characterization. The selection of membrane for a particular application depends on many factors. The membrane characteristics, the membrane material, the membrane morphology. Morphology means the surface structure, porosity, pore structure and pore size distribution, or membrane thickness. So first we will discuss what do you mean by the pore size distribution and what are the techniques to determine the pore size distribution. So the first characterization for membrane is the pore size distribution. The pore size distribution is commonly presented as a plot of a number of pores in a sample versus the corresponding pore diameter. Okay, so this is the graph which is between the diameter and the incremental volume. On x-axis we are taking the diameter in nanometers, and on y-axis incremental volume is taken in milliliters per grams. So we are getting this type of graph. This graph shows the pore size distribution curve of ceramic membranes. Okay, so pore size distribution is commonly presented as a plot of number of pores in a sample versus the corresponding pore diameter. Okay, so the pore diameter is in x-axis. Mercury porosimetry is a common technique of pore size distribution. So remember this technique. It may be asked in question. in exams, mercury porosimetry is a common technique of pore size distribution. Okay, and the pore size distribution may be unimodal or multimodal. Okay, so I think it is clear, pore size distribution. Now we will come on bubble point method. So the second characterization for membrane is the bubble point method. Bubble point method is a simple technique of characterizing the size of the largest pore in a membrane. The basic principle is to measure the minimum pressure necessary for forcing a gas through a membrane with liquid filled pores. The pore diameter is calculated from the Laplace equation. This equation is very important. Delta P equals to 2ys divided by d. Okay. A suitable test cell is used for the purpose. The pore diameter is calculated from the given equation. Since the liquid in the largest pore is displaced first, the pore size can be determined from the minimum pressure difference required for displacing the liquid and to form a bubble. This is why the name bubble point method. This technique is also useful for detection of imperfection in a membrane. So this technique is very important. Just remember the pore diameter calculation formula. So third is the water permeability. Water permeability of a porous membrane can be determined by measuring pure water flux through a membrane at a given pressure gradient in a test cell. The resistance to solvent flow offered by the membrane can be determined by this experiment. So, what is water permeability test? Water permeability of a porous membrane can be determined by measuring the pure water flux through the membrane at a given pressure gradient in a test cell. See, the fourth one is the perpometry. Okay, so perpometry is a useful and convenient technique for the determination of size distribution of the active pores in a membrane in the size range of 1.5 nanometer to 100 nanometer. It is based on the controlled blockage of the pore by capillary condensation and simultaneous measurement of gas diffusional flux through the remaining open pores. Okay, so the important two techniques I have already given you in detail. Okay, if you want to go in more details, then I have to make a separate video on perpometry and molecular weight cutoff method. Okay, so only two methods are more important, so I have given the data on these two methods in more details. So now we will come on most important topic in membrane, which is the membrane module. So what is membrane module? Membrane module is a compact unit housing the membrane as a barrier between the feed and permeate flow regions. So membrane module is a compact unit which housing the membrane as a barrier between the feed and the product flow region. It is fitted with the inlet and outlet nozzles on both feed and permeate sides. Membrane module has a small size but a large packing density. So the membrane module has a small size but the large packing density. And what is the packing density? The packing density equals to the membrane area per unit volume of module. So this is the formula of packing density. If feed rate is large, then the number of modules can be used in parallel. If the feed flow rate is very high, then large number of modules can be used in parallel. Okay. So here we will discuss the types of membrane modules. There are four types of membrane module. First is the plate and frame. second is the spiral wound, third is the hollow fiber module, and last is the tubular. So we will discuss three types of module in more details. The plate and frame module is the earliest membrane module, okay, and it is resemble a plate and frame filtration unit. The spiral wound resembles a spiral heat exchanger in a construction, and hollow fiber module resembles the shell and tube heat exchanger in construction. Plate and frame filter consist of number of plates, each having a frame around its perimeter. So this is the diagram showing the plate and frame module. Okay, so plate and frame module consists of number of plates and each plate having a frame around its periphery. So this is the plate where each is surrounded by plane. Okay, so plate and frame module having the packing density of around 100 to 400 meter square per meter cube. So the value of packing density is very important in each module. As the packing density increases, the efficiency of the module also increases. So in case of plate and frame module, the packing density is up to 100 to 400 meter square per meter cube. So now we will come on spiral wound module. Spiral wound module is a compact device that uses flat membrane. Packing density is about 300 feet square per feet cube. The diameter may be up to 12 inches and membrane surface area up to 60 meter square. So this is the diagram showing the spiral wound element. So these are used for ultrafiltration, nanofiltration and reverse osmosis applications. The life of membrane is 2 to 3 years in a well maintained plant. So by using the spiral wound module, the life of the membrane is 2 to 3 years in a well maintained plant, and spiral wound modules are used to separate the ultrafiltration, nanofiltration and reverse osmosis. Okay, so now we will come on third type of module, which is the hollow fiber module. Okay, so the hollow fiber module, since the fiber diameter is small, it can be withstand high internal or external pressure without any support. The beauty of the hollow fiber module is its high packing density. High packing density of order 10,000 feet square per feet cube. So packing density is very important. The disadvantage of hollow fiber module is that its sensitivity to fouling. It is very sensitive to foul, but this problem can be overcome by the pre-treatment of feed to make it free from the suspended particles. Okay, so what is the problem related with the hollow fiber module? It is the fouling problem. Okay, it is very sensitive to fall, but this problem can be overcome by the pre-treatment of feed to reduce the suspended particles. And where is the application of hollow fiber module? The hollow fiber module is used in ultrafiltration, hemodialysis, artificial kidney, blood oxygenators, dispersion-free liquid extraction, etc. And the recent development is in deoxygenation of boiler feed water. So these are the various applications of hollow fiber module. See the picture of hollow fiber module. So here feed is entering, okay, it is passes, and here we are getting the retentate and here we are getting the permeate. So the packing density of hollow fiber membranes are the highest. Okay, so I think this is clear to all the students. We will discuss some more details related to ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis and microfiltration, and with the help of some numericals also in the second part. And please students, subscribe to my channel and join me on Telegram also. So thank you so much for listening this lecture. Okay, have a nice day.